Question 2, to recognize the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this tired and out-of-touch government isn't focused on helping families with the cost of living.
Right.
Instead of being there to provide support and certainty, they're adding costs and they're sowing division.
Right.
Now, one of the best tools that we have to provide a little certainty for seniors in this province is Canada's pension plan.
Right.
It's there when you need it, it's secure,
right.
Or at least it has been. Now, next door in Alberta, the UCP seems hell-bent on dragging Alberta out of the CPP.
Right.
And this government, has floated the idea before. Now, will the Premier commit today to keeping Saskatchewan in CPP so that Saskatchewan people can count on this cost of living security?
Recognize the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we do understand the value of the CPP to residents in our province, and we will be watching very closely on what Alberta is doing. Now, keeping in mind that the process for them to actually apply to be removed from CPP will be years and years in the making, because there'll be the division of the funds, and that will be in dispute, I would think, for a number of years. And they have committed to a referendum, but not until those calculations are done. What is pressing and urgent, quite frankly, Mr. Speaker, is the inequity that's being created from Ottawa on the carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. That's what's pressing and urgent. That's what this government is discussing, not something that won't happen for a decade or more.
Recognize the Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I noticed that the Premier did not find his feet to answer that, and that was less than a reassuring answer from the Minister of Finance. Now, Mr. Speaker, people in this province are facing a cost of living crisis, and one of the things that people have been able to count on is the promise of the CPP. Now, the reckless proposal from Danielle Smith, whose lead the Premier often seems to want to follow, won't just impact Albertans. It'll weaken the plan for all Canadians, and it will remove portability for Saskatchewan workers in Alberta. Now, premiers across Canada have said that Alberta should stay in CPP. Even the Premier's federal leader, Pierre Poilievre, who I understand is coming to town this weekend, thinks that they should stay. Will the Premier urge Alberta to stay in the CPP?
Recognize the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the Federal Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, has called for an FPT tomorrow on this very topic. It will be very interesting to listen to, and is important, obviously, to all residents of Saskatchewan. There is no commitment by our party or even any discussion on exiting CPP, nor do I envision any province being able to exit anytime soon. Alberta has a fairly lengthy process that they have committed to before they are going to consider it. So right now we understand its concern. What we need to raise in that FPT, quite frankly, and I know that the federal minister is going to try to avoid it, is what they're doing and creating the inequity and division on the carbon tax on heating fuel.
Recognize the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it is so telling that the thing that the members opposite thought was most important about that question was the mention of Poilievre coming to town. Now, Mr. Speaker, the CPP has benefit of over $2 billion for people in this province. 800,000 people are beneficiaries or contributors to the CPP, yet we get no answer from the Premier, and I'm not sure what we just got from the Minister of Finance, but it certainly wasn't very reassuring. So, Mr. Speaker, can we have some clarity from the Premier? Will he commit to staying in the CPP, and will he pick up the phone and call Danielle Smith and tell him about the concerns of the people in this province?
Recognize the Minister of Finance.
I had the conversation with the Finance Minister last night, Mr. Speaker, from Alberta, and said this will affect Saskatchewan, and you know, we're going to be able or follow it very closely. We do not see this as pressing and urgent today, however. What we see as pressing and urgent, and what we need to have a discussion with the federal government today, is the inequity and division that they're creating with a carbon tax removal in one area of Canada for heating fuel and not for the rest of Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Yes, we will stay informed and follow the process, and yes, I agree with the opposition leader on a number of points that she makes on the importance of a pension plan that's strong, and I can assure you we will make decisions when we need to on what is best for our Saskatchewan residents.